Coffee was my last word. Oh, it's about food. Because we went out to eat the night before Italian and it really filled up, you know. Like a last good meal.
Okay, so tell me about breakfast.
Anyway, so they just had, you know, bread, white bread, which I didn't eat forever because it's white, you know, flour. But anyway, white bread, milk, cafe, and that's kind of it. And so we packed up and we started to go toward the beginning of the Pyrenees climb. And at that point, oh, about 20 minutes. And I mean, you get out the door and immediately it starts in climb. And then was like 7 o'clock and it was light. And here's this huge mountain and very steep. And I looked at it from the bottom, of course, and I said, holy crap. I have to go up there. But, you know, here it is. That's our beginning. And I think it's between 28 and 32 kilometers to get over it. And, you know, we start in good fashion, but pretty soon, you know, like that. And, but the view was absolutely amazing. The most amazing, it was clear, it was gorgeous. Other people said they had never seen it because it was foggy all the time. So we were really, really lucky. You know, this azure sky, the sun, it was warm, it was beautiful. Until, of course, the second part, you know, as you go twist your way around and turn, we had to stop, of course, for water, which we carry everything we need. I had about 20 some pounds, which is really heavy over that period of time. But, and of course, Carrie carried more because she had art supply and everything from school. And at one point, she was.
Hold on 1 second. We'll let this car drive. Make sure you're in focus. It looks good.
There's several times, of course, as we were climbing and in between resting a little, but we couldn't rest a long time because we needed to get over that before it got dark. That was important. And Carrie was so exhausted, she started crying. The only time I ever saw her cry was at that point. It seemed interminable. At other places, you know, we saw sheep, rams, horses with bells, you know, all this in between, and beautiful, beautiful scenery. And I said, how far? And Marianne, who speaks only French and Spanish, would say, only one more top. We reached that top, and she said, one more top. I said, oh, you're lying to me. Oh, it's one more top. Well, Cameron and Julio, of course, walked faster, and they couldn't slow down, and so he was really, you know, starting, and pretty soon, as we started our descent, the men were gone. They were way ahead. So it was Carrie and I, Marianne, and at that time another woman that had attached herself to us because she was on her own. And that's what people do. They attach, you know, to groups. So it's really great. And of course, I had researched about this and asked questions, but doing it in person is totally different than doing it from your living room. I'm going, oh my goodness. I said, who had this stupid idea to go this way? And they're all looking at me, you know. I said, okay. But, so pretty soon, Marianne was, of course, gone too, because she had done the Camino a few times prior as well. So it was just Carrie and I and then this lady. And the descent was extremely tough because it was very steep and your thighs hurt and your calves hurt. By that time, I was hurting all over. And yeah, so was everybody else, you know. And it seemed like we would, and it was forest. all of a sudden we're in this forest and it went forever. And I said, my goodness, it's going to get dark soon. We have very little water left. I don't think we had any food at that point because we had been walking for 10 hours and we're still in this forest. I mean, up and down, but still. And not knowing when it would quit and so tired, I said, I can't even go and sit down for a minute because I will never get up. If I get down, I'll never get up. And I said to Carrie, you cannot slow down. I said, because we could be caught in this forest and we don't know what's here at night. Bees or everything. And so she got her second wind and we kept going. I was so exhausted and tired I couldn't even cry and sore. I didn't even have energy to cry. That I just was on a robotic motion at that point. I didn't think, I just walked and walked and walked downhill. Like foot, or kind of like you do skiing, sideways, because it was so steep going down too. Finally, we see the way crossing that said, where we needed to go. Roncesvalles was the place, which is a monastery that they had put, wonderful new albergues and stuff. At that point, I think it was 11 and 3/4 hours that we had walked. And Julio and of course Cameron were worried about us because it took so long. So Julio came back a couple of miles to wait for us. And I was never so glad to see anybody as I saw him. And the minute, of course then we were starving to death. And of course in Spain, nothing happens before 8:30. Tapas, that much mayonnaise on it. Oh, and then some other stuff, on top, like little sardines or something. And of course, I hadn't had mayonnaise in over 3 years, and it was just that I said, "There's no way I can eat this stuff." But you have to wait until they open for dinner. That took forever. But anyway, so we did, and we have our whole table with Germans and French and different people. So the conversation went on in 4 languages, and we had so much fun. They serve pasta. Everything is about carbs. Pasta and wine. So it was, and then of course we had to go before lights out because they're very stern about things like that. And but I was so sore I couldn't even go to sleep. I had an ibuprofen because I brought stuff with me in case, and I needed something for the cancer or for this or that. So I had to have a few things with me. But it just wouldn't. I was, and the beds are very hard, and then snoring. So you had all this all over again. But anyhow, but that was the very beginning of the trip. And the next day, I said, "There's no way I can move." I was just locked up. Everything just hurt. So we decided for the 24 kilometers we would take the bus, which is not really cheating, So Cameron and of course Carrie too, Julio and Marianne would walk and we took the bus. So that gave us pretty much time at the other end to scout out our next albergue. Of course, by the time we got there, they wouldn't let us in because it was too early. So we just went around town. And I saw a grocery store, and that's the first thing I hit, so I would have something to eat. Because, it's hit and miss. And water, they have all these fountains. You can't just buy bottled water everywhere, so you have a fountain where you can replenish your water. So you worry about it. Is it safe? I mean, where does the water come from, Is it safe? Are there little cooties in there? I mean, but this been drinking this for hundreds of years, so yeah, it's safe. It's from the mountains. It's mountain spring water, so that was good. So the next, I forget what. See, I need to refresh my memory what the next spot was, like in the names, because there's so many Spanish names going in my head that I don't remember what the next spot was. Well, it was in that place, and I cooked stew. I went, I had leeks and carrots and all this good stuff, and we went to the carniceria, got a little meat, and I cooked a huge pot, and of course, so I was busy chopping everything for the next 2 hours, and made